You got a countdown, which means we're not getting like cheated. Like you can't do that anymore.
Cheated? Is it cheating to have to pay attention to your job?
Yeah.
Like,
My job.
yeah,
All right, yeah.
you're a
I
host.
guess. Yeah. I guess. Don't job involve getting paid?
Not always.
Oh, my volunteer
We're,
job.
we're Americans, man. We don't always get paid for work.
Welcome to While We Weren't Recording. Today is a no topic episode, which means we just get to shoot something I can't say because we're too early in the episode still. Okay.
All right.
All right. Have you played Elden Ring, Justin?
I have not. Like,
I should.
I'm kind of torn. I've been warming up to it a little bit. I've been, because I'm a big world building fan, right? People keep telling me I should play it for the world building. I was like, yeah, cool. I don't necessarily want to get my face punched in over and over again.
You don't.
In
You
order
don't
to get
have
there.
to because that's
what I
I haven't
hear.
played it, but that's what everybody tells me who played it. The cool
Yeah.
thing about Elden Ring is it's like a Souls game, but there are so many ways you can make yourself stronger. So to the point of where you can completely trivialize the fight. So if you don't want to get your face punched in, you can just use some consumables. There's all kinds of things you can do to make the fights.
That
so
depends
much
on the
easier.
fight. It depends on your build and depends on the specific bosses. For every build that you can do to make you super powerful in one area, there is a boss that will completely fuck you up.
I don't know. That's just what they said. That there's always something you can do that will make it very easy.
I mean, depending on how often you want to completely respec to just cheese a fight, maybe. But if you're doing a character of a specific build, there's going to be something that's your weakness. Or you're just, I guess there's also a hidden assumption in that statement is if you're going to kind of stay with the level meta that people tend to stay at for PvP purposes, you can continue to overpower and get more levels and put more stats in. That will eventually make things easier, but you will no longer be able to pair with other people.
I would not be interested in the PvP portion. I believe you can turn it off, right?
You can play without others, yeah. And so, but you can't get any of the invitations to help fight bosses or to help clear areas if you are outside of their levels as well.
I thought all I needed to wear was a jar and like just roll a lot, and then I could.
The jars are great. Rolling is fun.
You can play like that. There's a reason why those games are like that's what I don't remember who said this. Some streamer was like, they're not actually hard. There's a reason people can beat them without wearing any gear. But if you can't, that's a skill issue.
Yeah,
and you can make it
it's
easier
hard on
for
a
yourself.
skill issue of you need the ability to dodge and understand movements and frames and stuff like that. It's more on that side of hard rather than just get through the health bar.
Yeah. It's a game I'm interested in playing at least because I've only played one Souls-like, which was fun. I really enjoyed it. And everybody says Elden Ring's so good.
It's really
more
good.
matter of
highly recommend it.
Last time it was on sale, I didn't have the money for it because it was Christmas time, and then we got paid, and it was January, and I forgot, and now I'm just gonna wait for it to be on sale again. But then I'm getting it this time around. That and Sekiro are the two ones I want to play the most.
Another month or two, and you should have the spring sale, right? So,
yeah, I believe it's like roughly every 3 months they have a sale right on Steam. I believe. So like, that's Sekiro. I also want to play the God of War games, and I want to play. What's it called? Spider-Man games, the Insomniac ones. Those like the single-player games I got on my I want to play them soon list.
So PlayStation, lots of PlayStations. What?
No, they're all PC now. You can get them all for PC. I don't own a console.
A lot of those games were like no fly for me because they were all PlayStation exclusives. So
same, and I was really keen on playing them, but now they're on PC. So yay! Oh, and the Final Fantasy 16, the one that's actually action combat. I want to play that one too. You guys got any games you want to play planned out?
I got the Persona fantasy game, whatever that was, for as a Christmas present. I haven't had a chance to do anything with it yet, but it's Persona in a fantasy world is all I understand.
I never played a Persona game, but I heard they're good.
I mean, I enjoyed it as much as I played of Persona 5. I've still not quite finished it. And I saw the little trailers of the Metaphor. It looks exactly like Persona, just with slightly different aesthetic touches. Somehow they're still in high school, which I don't really understand, but that
why is
a requirement
still 12 or whatever in Pokemon?
Well, that's just because time doesn't pass, but they're in a different setting. They're in a different world. Why is it still high school?
Because there's a high school in that world too.
You sure it's not the Academ or something like that?
Whatever. There are academy uniforms that you could buy as a cosmetic. That's all I know.
Well, of course.
What about you, Justin? Any games on the horizon, that are on the to-buy list?
Nothing like that recently, anyway. I was trying to think because I was talking to some people about that prior to getting sick this week. So like that was the before times, and now it's the after times. But I finally beat Fallout 3 after my 4th time, and I'm like at least halfway. I don't know how to judge it, but I'm at least halfway through Fallout New Vegas. I'm
that is supposedly the best Fallout game.
I can see why people like it, right? It's interesting. It's a lot. Like if you're into hard RPGs, I thought Fallout 3 was a hard RPG, but this takes it even further because they were like, what if you could craft every damn thing? And so what if you had components for everything? And I'm talking like ammo. You can build your own ammo at a reloading press. Like, holy crap, guys. Like that's too much, So so yeah, it's kind of funny because it's like you get into RPGs and like, inventory management, fine. That's a basic thing. Maybe you got to eat some food, drink some water on occasion or something like that. You can do that in the Fallout games and whatever. I'll do the survival runs if I'm really into it and want to play it for like the 3rd time in a row or something just to shake it up. But yeah, when it was like you can craft, all your consumables, you can craft your ammo, and like the worst part about it is because the time frame it came out, they did 0 for inventory management, so it's just one gigantic list, right? So it's just like, oh yeah, you got to scroll past all the spare parts for your bullets, all the powder, all the lead and everything like that to get down to your to your 8 items and whatever. So it was like, yeah, inventory management involves putting shit in the right container somewhere in your house. Good luck finding a house, because we decided to put that like a 1/3 of the way through the game because we love you, stuff like that. So anyway, I'm ragging on it. It is a good game. The acting is fantastic. The story has been pretty good. At least the characters feel like characters as much as anything, right? Usually you get a couple of token lines of dialogue and go here and fight this guy or whatever, but you're actually getting some stuff, and they actually put in the effort to make it so that it's really open-ended, where like when you go talk to a guy, it's like, oh, hey, I need you to get the MacGuffin, and that's going to help me take over the wasteland. But he's not even technically, like, he's kind of one of the factions, I guess, if you want to break down to it, but there's 2 other primary factions, or you could just take it for yourself, so it's like all of those things where it's like you're presented with option A, which is give me the thing, but it doesn't even tell you about options B, C, and D, which I feel like really lean into the fact that it's much more open for decision making, right? Whereas like, a lot of the later, Bethesda games, it's like you have to make one of these 3 decisions and none of them are going to impact the world. This game's not like that. And of course, Bethesda wasn't the primary driver and developer behind Fallout New Vegas, right? So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things to say. It's not quite Baldur's Gate, where like your decisions are going to make, impact, 3 quests down the line or something like that. At least not that I've seen. But, they certainly seem impactful, and some of them are, right? Like this one where it's like part of the main quest and come bring me this MacGuffin that very much changes the face of the world, at least this little corner of it. And then, like I've been all up and down and around Nevada, so I get a little bit tickled by the fact that it's like, oh yeah, this is the I-15. Like, of course it is, like, duh, because we're literally in Nevada. Like I haven't been to like every place around there and whatever, but it's like, yes, I've been to Vegas multiple times and whatever, and so they have enough local like landmarks and stuff like that for you to be like, yeah, okay, I kind of get the gist of it. Yes, this is Nevada. And it's like, oh my God, it's a nuclear wasteland. No, actually, it's not. That's just Nevada. And they kind of lead into that in the game because for whatever reason, Vegas does not get nuked. And so you still have the post-apocalyptic whatever, but it's like, no, really, that's just Nevada with some of these mutated creatures of like run out of California or something like that. Like Nevada, they didn't nuke Nellis for some reason, or anything like that, right? They got spared. So it's kind of funny, but
Las Vegas is a major component in the Stand True, right?
I think so.
I feel like I remember that from the TV show.
Yeah,
the new one. Didn't watch that.
I haven't seen the new TV show, but I've been eyeballing it. I'm just not sure if I could watch it, with the kids or not. So especially the first few episodes, I gotta imagine. So, yeah.
I know you're a little. I mean, Alex would say you could probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I would.
She told me I could watch.
I've
Dark
not seen
with the
this
kids,
show, but I'm certain you could watch it with kids.
Yeah. But
whether it's a good idea or not.
By my standards and also kind of by Alex's standards, I would say it's probably fine. By the standards I pick up that you have, you probably won't.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, gratuitous amounts of blood, gore, stuff like that. That's a problem. Captain Trips, right, is not a good way to go. So I imagine they kind of leaned into that for the show, stuff like that. But yeah, I watched a show, not a show. I watched a movie called Spectral yesterday, not necessarily recommending, but that one was like just inside that realm. Cause it's like, well, they're ghosts. And when they kill you, they kind of flash fry you. So like, you get, like you can tell the guy's dead, but it's not like geysers of blood or whatever. So I was like, yeah, just be aware this will probably give you nightmares if you pay too much attention. But yeah, so yeah, very weird movie. Probably could have been actually good, and kind of awesome. But I've been eyeballing it because I have a soft spot for the what was the one? Shouldn't even say words some days. They had the animated one in the 90s, right? That was like it was almost like it was supposed to be a video game, but they had the thing where these ghosts attacked, right? And so your soldiers are fighting like these futuristic weapons and everybody's on the run. I'm trying to remember.
You're not thinking of a Final Fantasy movie, are you? Because they did have a Final Fantasy movie that had ghosts or something kind of like that. That was
the 3D one. I remember that on vaguely.
Yeah.
That wasn't a show though, and it was 3D, not animated.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, the Spirits Within, Final Fantasy, the Spirits Within. Yeah. So, yeah, right. I was watching it because I was like, okay, well, let's see what Final Fantasy is about. And then it's like not
completely batshit. Yeah, no, I had the same thing. Like, I'll watch that movie. And then they had another one a few years later. It's like, how do these connect in any way? And I was just completely.
That's the cool thing about Final Fantasy things. They generally don't. It's just, they use the same like building blocks. Like, okay, so there's always Ifrit, there's always Garuda, there's always this and that, like these in different variations of them. There's always a black mage, there's always a dragoon, but they might be, other than that, the worlds are completely different. It's just the same kind of like they're using D&D kind of. Here's the D&D rule book, but now you build your own world kind of. That's what they do with Final Fantasy.
I was thinking it's like Zelda, but the world is much more different as well because you've got the Hero of Time and you've got, the Wisdom Princess and, the bad guy, because it's not always Ganon, but mostly it is. So, yeah, no, it's funny because it's like, back in the 90s, right? You had, not enough Star Trek, though it was still kind of going on. no Star Wars unless you wanted to go rewatch the movies again or read the books, and very little other science fiction, right? So a lot of the sci-fi from the 90s, it's like, yeah, it wasn't great, and I have no idea why they did that and whatever, but
But it was the best thing we had.
Yeah, it was dear to my heart, man. Like, and so
Stargate
yeah,
movie was
oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's a favorite. Loads of people still hate that, and I was like,
why would you hate it? It's a great movie.
Yeah, in
Anything
the
Stargate's great.
justification, yeah, the bullshit justification I get today that I would still use for that is like, it's a good popcorn flick, right? It doesn't need to be anything else. It's not amazingly deep. It gives you some interesting, new concepts to shake up the whole Star franchise, Star whatever. But yeah, like, people take it way too seriously, I think,
I have been campaigning to get my husband to watch this movie for years, and
Stargate.
Yeah, it's just like it was outside of his realm, whatever. But my avenue in is that it's got Kurt Russell in it, and it turns out everything that we've watched with Kurt Russell is great.
Yeah.
And like Escape from New York is a personal favorite now, and like we watched The Thing, and it's just his character was great with it. Also, turns out I need to watch more John Carpenter movies because I didn't really put that together. We watched Big Trouble Little China a couple of days ago for the first time.
What? For the first time?
Yeah, no, it never never happened.
But still,
what I think happened is that as both of us were growing up, neither one of us were exposed to John Carpenter.
Okay.
Like, ever, except even just looking at his stuff of, like, he did Halloween. I didn't watch that until a couple of years ago. I thought everything I've seen of John Carpenter has been an adult.
But yeah.
So, and then because they overlapped a lot, it's just like there's a lot of Kurt Russell movies, and so this is great.
Sure.
We're going to kind of make our way through the list slowly.
With one stone, but yeah. I mean, I don't know if it helps at all, but like, Stargate's got a fun little trivia in the fact that it was pretty much the first movie that was advertised online. Like, it was the first movie with a website. So, like, there's a little bit of history, but yeah, I don't know. I like it, and I don't know. So I'm going to put this out there too, because again, I'm not saying that this is like AAA, like fantastic, whatever. But if you finally do get around to Stargate, or if you want to watch something else that is near-ish, then Soldier is the name of the movie.
That was one. So we started going through lists of Kurt Russell movies of just what are these things? What is it? And didn't know of Soldier. It sounds hilarious. Want that at some point. But
there
Stargate
are parts
first.
that are funny, actually. Yeah. So
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, the biggest criticism, some like blogger or something was writing about, like, Soldier has him being silent and stoic throughout a lot of the movies, and that's not a good thing because he's so charismatic. So watch Stargate instead. Like,
sure.
Whichever. This is fine.
I was gonna say, like, that's what I was getting to. It's like the Stargate and Soldier characters are very similar because you've got the stone cold, version of Kurt Russell instead of the funny version, right? And I don't know, I never thought about sequestering him for the different places, because like in The Thing, he's like a rebel, he's hilarious, but he's not like the military guy, and he's not funny per se. Like, that's not what his character is. Like, Big Trouble in Little China, he's basically comedy relief, right?
Yeah.
And if we want to completely derail this, we can ask you the question: was he the main character, or was he the sidekick? Because that's a common like debate for that movie.
I get that.
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking of it through, because I did not expect it to be such like a dual main character role thing, and I thought it was an interesting going about it. I don't know. I was like, he does not need to be the one singular main character. He is a main character. It is a cast of multiples, and so it's like I don't feel the need to specify that way.
Yeah,
I sidestep that argument.
Yeah, I still personally feel he's the hero, but I understand where you're coming from, and I did watch it with intent once after I saw that argument, and I was like, I feel like there's just enough things. Like, I get it, right? Like, he doesn't necessarily do anything amazingly heroic and whatever, but if you chart some of the milestones, it's like he basically does goad, two of the 4 main villains into like either killing themselves or being killed, right? He does kill the main villain, right? Ultimately, and he goads one of the main enforcers as a result into killing himself. The other guy who would, if you were just watching it straight, you would probably make the mistake of thinking he was just the sidekick, right?
Mhm.
He has to throw down with Raiden by himself, right? So
Yeah.
very much heroic as
I
well.
mean, multiple
you
fight
know,
scenes they
so-
had Jack Burton out of commission for some reason or
Yes,
another.
because
And
he
it-
shot him the roof and
Yeah.
knocked himself out. Yeah.
Or he was
so-
like psyching himself up. He has to go get his knife that he accidentally threw away, and then he comes like, ah, and they're all gone. It's just like,
right.
I don't know. That is one
Yeah,
of the reasons.
so
like,
I
he's not the
totally
main
get
character.
it.
He did not.
Yeah.
He was not crucial right there. He was an accident.
Yeah.
I did have to warn my husband of like, I know that there's going to be a lot of Dresden-y things in this, and so I might talk about that. Of just like there were outright references to Big Trouble in Little China in Battlegrounds.
sure.
It's like I know that there are others, and so there's various points like that was a Dresden line, that was a Dresden line, that was a Dresden moment. He put up with it.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm not connecting the dots right now, but I know and I'm sure, and
It's
so-
very
Well-
quippy, right? And Dresden's very
Yeah.
quippy. So-
Right.
Yeah, and it's quippy in the way that's funny rather than grating. So
Sure.
good on that movie. But like in Battlegrounds, they had like he did the green fire. And that was like I knew green fire was going to happen because that was mentioned in Dresden. And then he had the somewhere in Dresden he had the line of cops got better things to do than get killed. So
Yes. Yeah.
I
That
couldn't
one's a
remember exactly
favorite.
where it was like I know that's there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean just the whole ending, it's like, well, I don't know, just like all of his lines, right? That's the other thing, because I'm thinking the ending with the whole like, when the rain's falling and the wind's howling and and all this stuff, and you just tell him what Jack Burton always tells him, stuff like that. And then I always love telling people too, especially when I'm driving and they're freaking out. First rule when you drive with me is you're not allowed to scream. We get that out of the way. I'm less like that now that I've got 2 kids, but that used to be every time you got in my car the first time. But it was like, you just don't drive faster than you could see. Other than that, it's all in the reflexes. So, easy. But yes. So Big Trouble Little China, opposite kind of character of what you're going to get out of, Stargate and Soldier. But
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell sort of what character he's going to be based on his haircut. Of like when he has the soldier haircut, he's going to
The
be the
buzz
soldier
cut.
guy.
Yeah, right.
When
I think he had the
But-
same haircut in both movies.
Exactly. Well, that
I think he did film them like back to back, based on like that they came out within
No.
the same year.
No,
think.
they didn't. Really?
I think they
Is
did.
Soldier that old? Jeez.
How
I
old
thought-
do you
I
think
thought
movies are?
No, Soldier was 98. Okay, so 2 years later, but because wasn't Stargate
Stargate-
96?
I thought it was also 98, but maybe I'm wrong.
94.
Oh,
So
shit, okay.
that magical year where everything awesome came out. Well, and I was thinking Soldier came out in like the early 2000s, right? So I was thinking 2000, 2001, 98 was also a great year for movies, like just really the 90s. There was a lot of good off
Yes.
Trek, off Star Wars. You've got Lost in Space, you got Stargate, I mean, it's seriously, if you haven't seen the Lost in Space 96, like
I have seen
if
that
you're
at
in
some
this
point.
vein,
Actually, I saw it multiple times when I was a child, and of which I only partially remember things.
Is that where he gets turned into the creepy spider thing and like he
Yeah.
gets bit and then they travel
Yeah.
to the future?
friggin' Gary Oldman, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like the one of those roles that went back in time and was like,
Oh, that was
holy
Gary
shit, this
Oldman?
was Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And let alone like everybody in the main cast except for maybe like the youngest daughter, which it's not like she hasn't been in anything, right? But like you can name all of them. Oh, and maybe not Will. I don't remember what he's been in. I know I've looked him up a couple of times, but it's like is it Heather Graham, right? Like
Yeah.
just all of that stuff. So crazy. So other great quips, not a quippy movie, but it's got great one-liners, so anyway, yeah, we're just in my childhood right now, so that's
Right,
that's where
no,
we're hanging out. So
So Gary Oldman was kind of solidified in my brain because of Air Force One, which is a great dumb movie.
oh wow, yeah,
The movie's dumb, but it's really, really
It's-
fun.
It's
It's
dumb.
real. It's a good action movie.
I'm confusing parts of it with Executive Decision, but yeah, Air Force One was Harrison Ford and Get Off My
Yes.
Plane, and yeah. So I don't remember him for that. I remember retroactively, I remember him for Leon the Professional, which is why
That one
I
too.
say he's a fantastic actor. And yeah, and it's the fact, and then stuff like Lost in Space and other things like that are why he's a chameleon, because you don't even know it's him. Like, unless you know already, right? When you go back and you watch it and you're like, holy shit, that was the same guy who did these 11 other roles, right?
Yeah, he was significant
so-
enough early enough in my childhood. By the time that I realized he was cast as Sirius Black, I was like, that's significant.
Yeah, I think Sirius was still one of my retroactive, like,
Really?
I was like, holy shit, that was Gary Oldman. And then, Fifth Element and Sirius Black, and, yeah. And I was like, oh shit, just kind of unzip the entire thing. But yeah. Yeah, because he's a fantastic bad guy and a fantastic uncle and a fantastic good guy, and,
Hilarious bad guy.
right. Yeah. Okay,
I
so
can't remember seeing him in a bad movie, like, or where he was bad in the movie. He
Yeah,
might
no,
have
it's like,
been
I'm
a
sure
bad
there
movie.
are movies that are bad, but in a fun way because he's just having fun with them.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, and those are fun too, though, right? Like, one of the all-time like top examples for that for me is the in the 90s they had the Dungeons and Dragons movie, and you had Jeremy Irons as the villain, and it's
Yeah.
like, come on, man. At
No, he
least
had
he's
fun with
having
it.
fun. Exactly.
That movie was
like, look,
so
I get it.
cringy, but
I get it, but there aren't a lot of examples, so I'm going to treasure it and protect it. So
I love the standout in that movie. Jeremy Irons was great, but I've watched this movie a lot of times as a kid teen. I think I got it for Christmas or something on VHS or
The
DVD,
D&D
whatever.
one?
Yeah, the first D&D movie.
Right.
The standout for me in that movie is his number one right hand guy of the bad guys, the one that gets like the wormy demon thing in his ear, with the bald guy who's just like blue lips and goes, and he just plays it so straight,
right,
in such a good way. He's so good in it. I don't remember his name, but he's so good. I gotta rewatch that movie just for the nostalgia.
Yeah, we might have it on DVD somewhere, but I haven't tried to dig it out. One TV series that I'll be surprised, honestly, if my friend hasn't made it through, but he was like, I need more Space Marines, but I don't need more Grimdark. And so he was like, I don't necessarily want 40K, I want something, kind of in between, right? I think he was looking for more of the heroism, less of the, bleakness and whatever. And surprisingly,
Troopers,
right? I know, right? Like, I mean, he and I are the same age, right? So we grew up on a very similar diet. Now, up to a point, because at some point he stopped watching movies and whatever, and so it's like I had to drag him to all the Marvel movies. Any Marvel movies he's seen, it's been because he watched it with me up until literally like maybe 6 months ago or whatever. He was like, okay, it's long past due. I'm gonna go from the beginning and rewatch them and whatever. But what we came up with for the Space Marine thing was Space Above and Beyond, which was a 90s, TV show. And, like at the time, I remember it working because, it's very much just like World War II in space with aliens, right? And so you get a lot of World War II, types of, stories out of it, up to the point where it's like, there's an episode that's pretty much like, oh shit, this is just like that one thing that happened or whatever, like you can point to some of those sorts of things. But sorry, just old science fiction in my head now while I'm looking through like Kurt Russell's thing, just to be like, what else do you need to go watch? So, but of course, I said Executive Decision, forgetting he's in that, but probably one of the five
came
dudes.
up in conversation the other day. Like, I don't remember what that plot line was, but
it's bad, What? So here's the entire movie, right? And the only thing that you need to know. So Kurt Russell and Steven Seagal
Oh God.
when they were
Right.
when they're amazing. They are Navy SEALs, and they get stealth inserted onto the plane with an F-117, and then are immediately killed by terrorists in the first 5 minutes. After
Right.
that,
I
I couldn't
remember
tell you
this was
about the movie.
it was being billed or marketed as a Steven Seagal movie, but then he
Yes.
dies really early on in the movie. And so like there
Yeah.
was a bait and switch. It's like that. Okay, there's that one. Somehow when we started talking about Kurt Russell the other day, we were really talking about Sylvester Stallone is just kind of weird. And somehow I don't
Okay.
remember the points of like then we were comparing it to Kurt Russell. And then we found out there was a movie they were together, Tango and
Okay.
Cash, that I've never heard of before.
Oh.
And it's okay. We'll see how that goes.
So how did it go? Or it's still
We
on
haven't
the
watched
list?
it yet. It's on the
Oh,
list.
okay.
It's just
I'm familiar with, have not seen. So I'll die on that hill with you. And Cody right now is yelling wherever he is, but yeah.
Well, it's like
there's a few others that are going on this list that I've never heard of. This one called Dark Blue that was it's like neo noir something, maybe as a continuation of LA Confidential. It's like I have to watch this. Kurt Russell and Brendan Gleeson. You can't go wrong with that.
Hmm.
And then there's Tequila Sunrise, I think, was another one. I don't remember the plot line of that, but it was some form of noir. It's like I have to watch the detective
Yeah.
movie, no matter what.
Heard of Tequila Sunrise again. Haven't seen either of these, so interesting. I don't know if I've seen him like as a detective. And then, I mean, come on, Mel Gibson, Michelle Pfeiffer, Kurt Russell,
Oh,
in
right,
Tequila
right.
Sunrise. So
Yeah.
maybe I have. It's a long time ago, and it was not something that would have interested me at the time. But I'll have to see about putting these back on the list too. So, but yeah, and then of course you've got a smattering of cowboy movies, which he's always great in. So because he just wants to be a
Bone
cowboy.
Tomahawk was
So
a standout for me that I haven't seen a Kurt Russell movie in a long time, and then we watched Bone Tomahawk together.
oh yeah,
That was like standout. I was like, oh man, this was really good.
Yeah, Bone Tomahawk was really good. I like Tombstone was really good, but I almost forget that it was Kurt Russell in it because I'm paying attention to so many other people.
oh wow,
I mean, like Val Kilmer is the one that really shone in that movie. So
Yeah.
I Michael Bain, and then there's like, oh yeah, there's Sam Elliott and Bill Paxton. It's just like everybody's in it.
right? Yep.
That Kurt Russell almost goes into the background for it.
Well, especially like the last third of the movie or so.
Yeah.
Because it's like, obviously he's on his revenge kick and whatever, but still, shoot. Val Kilmer, right? Still stealing the show, all the way up through the ending. So, but
Oh yeah, I watched speaking of like movies where like just everybody's in it. I came across a movie called Conclave the other day. I watched, which is about the Pope dies and then a new Pope has to be elected. But it was just like, Jesus, everybody's in this. This is just a standout cast. It's got Ralph. I can't say his last name. Fiennes.
Fiennes, I think.
Fiennes. Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, like lots of other like recognizable faces. Like it's just a standout cast. It was so good. Great movie.
Interesting. Like, do demons or aliens attack in the middle of this or something? Because I'm not sure.
It's just a political. It's just like a political thriller kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Of the Pope's election.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It was really good. If you like
brand new too,
intriguey, political, it was good, really good.
I have seen stuff about this, I guess, like advertised or something, but I'm just like, I'm not Catholic. I'm not super interested in the Pope anymore. So I'm just like, there's not really a hook for me, right? Other than the cast looks amazing. So
the reason why I was like, okay, the trailer came up on YouTube and I was like about to click away from it. And then I recognized, I think it was John Lithgow. And I was like, okay, he's in it. I'm interested because it's John Lithgow. Let's see. And then it's like, oh, that guy. Oh, wait, okay, intrigued. Okay, let's check it out. Is it on some streaming? It is. And then I went and watched it.
Right. I was trying to remember. So I did watch 2 movies in the last couple of days. So one of them being Spectral. The other one was the Cloverfield Paradox. And this is another stupid hole that I've fallen into. It's stupid because I hate J.J. Abrams and he's just not good. And this movie's not good. Right. So we'll just get that out of the way.
It's an itch that you have.
But yeah, for whatever reason, the Cloverfield movies, like I got caught up in the viral marketing of the first one, right? That got twinned with the viral marketing from a game that nobody even knows the name of anymore, hardly. And so like the first movie was pretty good. The first movie, like it fits Abrams' style enough, right? Where all you need to do is have some good scenes, right? And what I've tacked on to after the Cloverfield Paradox was that he's just not good at understanding cause and effect, because he just, like, the main thing that somebody told me a couple of years ago that kind of gelled for me was that he's good at filming scenes. He's not good at the story, right? And so in Cloverfield Paradox, if you want to watch Final Destination in space, go watch the Cloverfield Paradox, because the randomest fucking shit is going to kill these people. And there's no fucking explanation other than that for some reason, main plot point element. So I'm not really going to spoil it, but it'll become clear very early in the movie. But it's like, well, because of the laws of physics, random shit happens. And I was like, still no, right? So some of this stuff is performing as though it has an intelligence, right? So that's not the laws of physics, right? So in any case, but the reason why I brought
he didn't because I thought, so to interject, he didn't write that, he just produced it.
Yeah,
who directed
whatever.
it?
It's got
he didn't direct it either. It's some guy
stamp
named
all
Julius
over it.
Ona.
So
Yeah, but is that one of his cronies? Like,
right, his
he
proteges,
has minions and wards that he's passing off onto things. Like, this is reminding me of a conversation I was having when I really should be sleeping about good and bad directors and how much they impact something, whether it is good and bad. How much, like, there is a flavor of the bad things that come out of Netflix nowadays in the past decade or something. There's just like a certain template that you can kind of notice of something that came out of Netflix and it also sucked. And is it something that is bad out of directors? Is it something that they're being hamstrung by producers? Is it that they specifically chose directors who are yes men and always do what the checklist says, versus what are the good directors and what do they do about it? And like, my prime example that I was trying to think of a good director was Denis Villeneuve. Of all the stuff that he's done, like, he is able to do very good whole movies, like, and the stories and the efficacy and just like building his entire career to be able to do Dune.
Right.
That says something about him and the people that he was recruiting to also do exactly this thing. Like, Hans Zimmer also said that he never watched the other versions of Dune because he wanted the opportunity to do the score without being affected by what had already happened. So
right.
That kind of thing of those people versus what the fuck is going on with Rings of Power? Like, it's just how do I examine these situations with these two very, very different situations and understand what and why? If they have so much money, why do they suck so bad?
A lot of the, I mean, you could say that about a lot of the quote unquote TV stuff now, right? It's all streaming, whatever, but like, because you see it with the Acolyte. People seem to love Skeleton Crew more, but still kind of pan it. I haven't made it more than like 2 episodes in. I think it's.
My friend watched a couple episodes and said it was way better than any other Star Wars he's seen recently.
Yikes!
But this is Star Wars with like kids, right? Like 8-year-olds.
It's Goonies in space. Okay, guys, let's not.
Never watched Goonies.
We're not even going to pretend. You've what?
No, I never watched Goonies, and I probably never. I don't need kids.
Thanos is in it, so, and Sam is in it.
I know that. I didn't know Josh Brolin.
Yeah, he's the big brother and the bully. So, like, again, all of these kids after what, a 20 or 30 year hiatus, we got Data back. So, go fucking watch Goonies.
I
Don't.
don't think so.
You're late to the party for Kurt Russell. Don't be a dope.
I am
Go
not
watch
late
the
to part of Kurt
Goonies.
Russell. I am late for John Carpenter. Excuse me. I've been watching Kurt Russell movies since I was a child.
Okay. As you come out to this entire list of all the good Kurt Russell movies that you've missed, so like,
No, it's
so
like,
which 2 or 3 Kurt Russell movies have you seen since you were a child?
so there was a lot of Stargate, and there was a lot of other things, and then
There's only one movie, so
no, but I just watched it over and over again.
okay.
There was also a struggle I had as a pretty young of figuring out which one was Patrick Swayze and which one was Kurt Russell.
Sure.
And so
We've all been through that.
I know,
Right. Yeah.
So then there was a lot of things. I was like, I saw the Miracle on Ice, the hockey thing. I don't know why. I don't
No.
care about hockey.
Yeah.
We saw it probably only because Kurt Russell was in it, but I remember it. There was the
Okay.
breakdown when he was like on a
Go
road
watch-
trip with his wife.
Shh, it's okay. Go watch the Goonies.
No.
It's important.
I
The
don't think
Goonies
so.
in the Sandlot. Yeah.
No.
Weren't you a little boy once? Didn't you get into trouble? Yeah. So yeah. What's the Christmas Story, Goonies, Sandlot. These are all American classics.
Never seen
man. You
Christmas
gotta-
Story either.
Jesus Christ.
Isn't he? Kurt Russell also
I had
plays
Die Hard
Santa and
instead.
those newer. Those newer the Santa Christmas movies where he's Santa, and it's like that was
Yeah.
just very
The Christmas
charming.
Chronicles. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great in them, you
Yeah.
know. They're dumb and great, you know. So anyway. Yeah, I figured that was a non-starter, so I didn't even go down that route with her. But you know, to not have seen the Goonies and to just refuse. So anyway, I think we're trying to get back to the fact that, like, you know, what I was getting at was that the streamer writers and
Yeah.
directors and everything are just kind of like, I don't know, they're like
Bullshit.
fans, but they're like the wrong kind of fans. And let me qualify that for a second, because now you've got your soundbite. I'm gonna get canceled and whatever. But like they're the kind of fans that were like, well, what if like Luke Solo had a rocket launcher, right? I know, Skywalker, I'm picking on you, but it's like, what if instead of using his lightsaber on the Wampa, he used a rocket launcher? Or what if, and they're like the what if fans, that it's like, you know, don't get me wrong, like the brainstorming is fine and like it's a necessary part of whatever, but you got to have the second part of that creative process, which is like, but why?
And what happens
But
after?
where?
What does this
You know,
mean? You have made changes to something. This is significant.
Right. Like why do we have a Jedi pirate? Because it's cool. Okay. Why do we have, you know, just on and on and on, right? Like there's not
So-
enough, there's not like self-reflection, I guess, you know, which is a big thing that I've been harping on people in general. Is like, if you were just a little bit self-critical, maybe you wouldn't be so like confidently an idiot, you know, and just like running out here with like, it's
All right, I'm
cool.
having
Well, I need more
thought.
than just it's cool. So yeah.
Right. So I'm having a thought, and this is going to be weird to come out. You've been playing New Vegas, which I think has one of the writers as being Josh Sawyer. Have you played Knights of the
Okay.
Old Republic?
Yes.
Okay. I have not, but I've heard some things of it, and I know that Josh Sawyer was heavily involved. And
Okay.
also, believe either him or people who are very much like him in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, which I've talked about a lot.
Okay.
There's a character in Vampire the Masquerade named Beckett. He's very important, and he is basically a historian, but he's also a skeptic. And so he is someone who he pushes against the commonly accepted narrative of things and is therefore a foil and explores the possibilities, but by doing so strengthens the verisimilitude of the world. And I
Okay.
believe that's also something that was done in Knights of the Old Republic with Korea, because I don't think Josh Sawyer, I believe, disliked a lot of things about Star Wars and the Force and how it works, and he found it simplistic. So he had characters that were pressing against it, but it made it a better game because of it. And so it's like having that type of thinking through what these things mean, because he didn't like it, made it a better game for you to enjoy it as a fan of Star Wars.
Interesting. Okay. That I felt like that was 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon there for a second, but we got there. And, you know, yeah, it's interesting when you can take, you know, your dislike of something and you can kind of shore it up, right? which I don't know. I have a lot of examples about right now. I have one, you know. So, you know, that's kind of cool. I don't recall this character either, to be honest. So I don't know if they were in my party or
Kriya?
whatnot, but yeah.
If I remember, she was the old woman that was blind, and she was kind of like the one that was taunting your character all the time. Like no matter what you did, she would tell you that you did it wrong.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Okay.
It's been a
remember if
little
this is
while
one or
since I played the
two.
game.
I haven't played these games, so everything it's kind of just hearsay and random exposure research stuff. But I've
Yeah.
seen the clips of it, and like if you choose to do it like the good way, she'll say, "Here's all the ways that now you're going to cause bad after effects that you didn't think of." And if you choose to do it bad way, it's like, "Well, here's all the
Sure.
other after effects you're not thinking." Like no matter what, she was kind of a character of just like the Force is stupid, but
Right.
thinking through it all. And
Right.
something that I think you're going to enjoy out of New Vegas is as you get into, again, hearsay because I haven't played this game yet, but I'm going to, the characters who are leading the factions
Mhm.
are not simplistic, and they are
Right.
thinking through what their goal is and how to get it. And so there's lots of 12D chess in some of these characters.
Sure.
But
They're doing a remaster of that game, right? I believe soon to
I-
him. These are spent something about them.
Probably, but
Yeah, I think so.
writing, you know. So yeah, I feel like there's just a lot of like, you know, I don't know, maybe the other part that comes into it is like yes and, right? Like you get encouraged to do this in improv, and especially as a dungeon master, is like you should always say yes. And then you should, instead of saying yes but, you should say yes and, you know. And I feel like maybe that's, you know, some of the writing here, right, is like you could just imagine them all sitting around the writer's room, all being a bunch of nerds, all having grown up on, you know, the same media diet we have, all apparently having taken the wrong fucking lessons out of this somehow some days, right? Because it's like, oh well, what if the Force was XYZ? And it's like, where did you get that idea? So without getting into that, you know, whatever, but you get the whole like, what if Luke had a rocket launcher? Yes. And what if, you know, the Wampa had a shield? And, you know, and then you just keep going down the thing, and you're like, yeah, let's fucking print it and sell it, dudes. And it's like, nah, like,
yeah, sometimes you need to cut the fat. I mean, like, I feel like when we're doing the crazy tinfoil things with Dresden or anything else, it's like, what if this word that they said really means all these other crazy things? How well does it
Right.
fit? And if it doesn't fit, it's like, maybe we should get rid of this. And you have to do that, I
Right.
think, when you're creating a story or creating a world of like, I can do all these things. I can yes and it all, but now I've changed the shape of what I'm working with. And maybe that's not what I was actually going for. And so I need to go back
Right.
to what was the assignment? What is the actual thing that I'm going for? And trim that. And some people really need editors.
Right.
There's another random thought. I have this weird thought a lot about people who are developing video games, especially ones that get a lot of updates over time, in which people complain about this thing is hard. That thing took too many clicks. That thing took too many hours to grind. And over time, the developers can just completely kill any of the effort that you need to do to actually play the game. And
Sure.
this effort that you need to do, this aggravation, I think I've seen the word friction. And I think it's
Sure.
really important. The friction that you need to do to actually achieve something that gives you that dopamine hit for you to enjoy something. So there is a certain antagonism that needs to happen between developer and player.
Sure.
It needs to be the appropriate level. And that's hard to strike. But you cannot just give everything out to what people are demanding, because then you just, what am I doing? What am I doing as a player?
A common one for game developers, though, that I would use all the time when I was talking about Bungie and Destiny was like, at no point do I feel like there's a guy in the room saying, yes, but we're game developers. When does this get fun?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, sure. It's cool that, you know, I got to click on this button 9,000 times or whatever the case may be, but like it needs to be punctuated, you know, intervals somehow, right? You need to get distracted, you need to get rewarded, you need to get something. You cannot just be pushing one fucking button 9,000 times and that's a game mechanic, right? Like unless it's your trigger, because at least then it's associated with other skill sets, presumably, right? If you're shooting at something, you've got hand-eye coordination distracting your subconscious and whatever. But if you're just sitting there standing on a circle, or you're sitting there pushing a button 9,000 times, or whatever the case may be. It's like, somebody somewhere just needed to stop and just be like, hey, wait,
Have you heard of
developers, right?
Have you heard of this very popular game called Cookie Clicker?
Yeah, I have not. And guess what? I don't play those games, right? So if they're for you, then boy, do I have a game for you. No, but
that's essentially what you do. You just click.
Yeah. My heart goes out to you, Matthew. You got to be one of like 25 people still playing. So, yeah, I got out a year before all the drama, and I just feel like I dodged a bullet. So in any case, yeah, like that's just kind of the thing with the game developers, right? And so like I think you can do a lot of different things, and it's something I've been contemplating alongside some of my quote unquote writing, for lack of a better word. And one of the things, mostly what I'm doing, is dungeon mastering, right? And so when I'm plotting some of this stuff out, I get torn between, my pacing is one of the biggest things that I have a problem with, because I'll outline something and I'll be like, okay, I want the story to be here, right? And I got this gigantic story arc that's going to take me way too fucking long to go down this way, but I haven't necessarily contemplated that in real time. We're just on the path and it's going to take as long as it takes, right? And then I've got a session coming up and it's like, okay, well, how much should I expect to be able to do in the next session? And how many scenes should I have? And how many characters should I have? And whatever. And there's not an equation that I'm doing with this, right? What it comes down to is like, part of the feel is it better to have, one big chewy scene, or is it better to have a bunch of little quick scenes where you're just moving the plot? And I got to tell you, like, when I've been paying more attention to some of the TV shows and stuff like that, like, quicker, shorter, sweeter scenes are a little bit better, right? And so I try to incorporate that into my gameplay more, which is a little tough because I feel like I'm moving the story too fast sometimes, right? And it's a balance, right? There's no equation, whatever. It can depend on your people, it can depend on the day, it can depend on the story, it can depend on a bunch of stuff, kind of like the interplay between pushing buttons and the reward feature that you're getting from game developers and whatever. Like, I don't think there's an answer. Like, 9 is not the answer, right? You can't just say, oh, well, you should have like 9 scene changes per session. You should have 9 button presses before you get rewarded. It's not like that. There's other variables that go into this, right? But I think you get into these things where it's like an episode should have one thing happen, and more like, also being a Star Trek nerd, right? Like, I think a minimum you should have an A-B plot, and really you should probably have a C plot. And what it comes down to is like, your A-B plot, one or both of those should be a part of an arc. And if not, C is absolutely part of the arc, and that sort of thing. But you just get, these monolithic kinds of stories that are just like boring and don't do anything, and you've got a filler episode.
Well, it's kind of interesting. The how many arcs do you have? The A-B plot, I do think, is a minimum generally. Well, because in looking at the story that I've been working on a long time, I wrote out how many different plots do I have, and it turns out it's like, how many characters do I have? Each one of them has their different goals, and they're intertwining with each other, and so you can kind of group them of like, this lump is doing this and this lump is doing that, and so I can like A, B, C, whatever. But the plots are as numerous as all the characters, which is fine. To think
you don't your whole arc doesn't need to be like that. Each episode needs to be like that, right? And with a role-playing game where you've got 4 or more people at a table, it's even harder, because you've got 5 plots at a minimum. Because another one, Vox Machina, right? I've watched through all the latest of that. It's a D&D story, Critical Role, their first campaign. They decided to animate it, retell the story, right? They do character focus episodes, which is really cool. And it's really cool to get into the lore. And I'm glad that these characters had these backstories and they were able to go explore this. But doing that at the table can be problematic depending on how your group is and how you play and whatever. Cause it's like, we meet like once a month, right? So if I do a character focus session, right,
you're ignoring 4 of the people.
Yes, and 4 months before it comes back around, to your turn again or whatever, right? And so, like, I try to sprinkle in a little bit for everybody, right? And sometimes you pick it up and sometimes you don't, because we're dealing with live human beings that aren't always paying attention or don't always pick up the hooks that I feel like I've set and that sort of thing too. So you get a little bit like that, but the point of like an AB plot of whatever is like within the episode, you should be moving some of that forward, right? You can do a character focus, and then next time you could do a different character focus. If you're doing a story, a TV show, a game, even maybe you can have your loyalty quest, right? That's a big one for RPGs where it's like, oh yeah, your character is going to get a really big upgrade because he just loves you more. So now he'll fight harder. And it was like, oh, I thought we were fighting for the fucking galaxy, as if that wasn't enough, motivation. But if Mass Effect says otherwise, so. But just to bring in my example, but yeah, like that's what you get. Is like each episode, whatever session that you're telling the story in, so like in a chapter you could have a little bit of a character focus, a little bit of driving the world forward, and maybe that's what it is depending on the story, right? It's like you've got main plot, you've got character plot, and you've got what's actually happening out in the world, because that's something I try to keep in mind for my D&D games as well, is that just because you guys decided to go fuck off and have a beach day didn't mean that the bad guys also had a beach day, right? They weren't just like, oh, you know what, the heroes are taking an easy day, so why don't I? Like, that's not how that works. Like, you're up against an empire. That empire doesn't sleep. So yeah, you guys do need downtime, but that means you might give up the advantage somewhere else. So, but yeah, I don't know. Lots of ground. We've been very broad, but I think there's some nuggets in there. So,
Yeah, somehow we touched nearly all topics minus food, which we've got 3 minutes left. We could do that.
Yeah.
I like food.
Yeah. I don't know if I could take any more heartache right now. I feel like I'd make a recommendation of like a childhood staple, and the director's like, I've never had that. That sounds disgusting. Like
salad on pizza?
Fucking watch The Goonies. So is that a childhood staple? You grew up on that?
I mean,
yeah. I grew.
That explains a lot.
I'll have my salad separate from my pizza, thank you.
Right. Yeah.
I like my bread not soggy.
It's not soggy. It gets cooked and then served with the salad immediately afterwards. It's not okay. Anyway, I have decided, I wanted to say this, but we don't have much time left, that I wanted to get into comic books again. Yeah. I haven't read Marvel comic books in forever, since I was like a teenager. And then I bought this, and it was $30. That was expensive. That's 4 comic books inside this. And then I realized,
expensive.
Yeah.
I realized I could get a tablet and Marvel Ultimate.
Yeah.
And in 6 comic books, that would be more worth.
Right.
So I just got this and Marvel Ultimate instead.
Yeah, the value has always been there for that. I've just never been in the mindset that I'm going to sit down and jam out like 100 years worth of comic stories. But
I'm not jamming out 100 years. Right. What I have started with is there's like last year the Ultimates. Like, you remember the Ultimate Universe? Ultimate Spider-Man, all this thing. That kind of got like kiboshed, but now they've kind of like rebooted it. And there's not that much to start with, so that's what I'm doing now, is the Ultimate stuff.
Gotcha.
And then I'll move on all over. I've read like the first intro story, and I've read some of Black Panther, some of Spider-Man. I'm just taking them in publication order.
Yeah, do you got to sit through all their origin stories again?
Not really, and kinda. So the thing is, bad guy Reed Richards has gone to the Ultimate. Is making his Ultimate Universe. One of the things he's doing is getting rid of all the heroes that he thinks would be a problem. So, for example, Spider-Man didn't become Spider-Man. He just grew up Peter Parker, and then it's discovered that the Maker has done this, and someone else, anything, like, start spreading out these people's superpowers again if he can. So Spider-Man, for example, is now adult. He's 30. He's like 36. He's married to Mary Jane. He's got 2 kids. And then he gets told, all this happened. Have you felt like you've been missing something? He's like, yeah, I have felt like that. And if you take this, you can get your Spider-Man superpowers. You were supposed to get 16. But the story is more, he's an adult. He's got kids.
Right.
Different Peter.
Knee problems. What we want out of every Spider-Man. So,
yeah. Well, he gets bit, he doesn't have that anymore.
Okay, so the box has a spider in it. I was like,
Here's the
is
box.
yeah.
The catalyst is in there, which is the spider that bit him originally,
right.
and that will make him Spider-Man. So it's the Spider-Man story is standout. It's really good.
Cool. Yeah, I mean he's a favorite character for a reason. So
even though his character in that Marvel Rivals game I've been playing is super annoying. So I was talking with my brother about this the other day. You know what? They have made Spider-Man so annoying to play against in this game. They're low-key making me hate my favorite superhero.
Right.
So that
Yeah,
kudos on that.
Yeah.
He's so disruptive and annoying, and yeah, he's not fun to play against.
This is Rivals, you were saying?
Yes. Yeah, Rivals.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Fun to play though.
Sure.
Yeah. I just wanted to drop in that I was reading some comic books because I think it's been fun.
Well, we look forward to your full report. So
yeah, I'm gonna read the Ultimate, and then I also wanted to read the name escapes me again. This is like the third time I forget the name. Remember, there was a story arc where Magneto and Xavier kind of get their minds merged.
Yeah,
I kind of want to read that whole thing.
That's what they're doing with X-Men 97, theoretically, isn't it? So
I don't know. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, Onslaught was the name of the dude. So
yes, Onslaught.
Yeah.
And I remember I read that there was these like magazines where they did all the we've done all this setup in separate magazines, and now we're putting it all together. And they were called here in Denmark. I think they were called Mega Marvel, and they're like bigger magazines where this story played out. And I got that magazine where the whole Onslaught thing played out, and I remember it fondly. And I remember like this really cool scene where they're fighting. The Hulk comes to fight, and Onslaught's beating Hulk, but Hulk just gets more and more mad, and then he pulverizes him with a punch. But that was Onslaught's plan, because if he gets his physical body destroyed, he becomes more powerful or something. I just remember it being good.
Gotcha.
Teenage or kid me. I don't exactly remember how old I was.
Classic Hulk, though. So
yeah,
can't beat him. He just gets more mad.
More mad. So. New trailer drop for Captain America too, with the Red Hulk in it.
Cool.
So, go check that out.
I'm torn on trailers that I'm already going to see the movie. I usually just won't watch the trailers anymore because I don't want the spoilers. Yeah. So, ever since Batman v Superman, which I mean I shouldn't have seen, but still, that was the one that was like, yep, I'm done watching trailers because I didn't need that spoiled for me. So, but
yeah. Well, that's what I think. Should we just wrap it up here? Should we say? Should I plug our stuff?
Go for it.
Go for it.
Okay, so yeah, you can check us out every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. We stream live. You leave us a comment or give us a like. That means the world to us. You can support us on patreon.com/brokenjars. If you do, you get access to our Discord where you can come tell us about all our bad takes and all my good takes.